Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore used to be.
Hey everyone, welcome to Every Man's Guide to Nerddom, where we are two 30 to 40 something year olds who talk about pretty much whatever we want. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kyle. And you guys might know us online as Guyver and K-Sig. And we have a special guest with us again for this session. Mr. B. Rob, how are you tonight?
Great. Thanks for letting me continue this journey.
Quite the journey.
Well, I mean, I figured you did so well after the last one, we'd let you come back. I mean, not that he was picketing outside my house with a sign that said, I want to be on again.
No, but I bet his shoulders are sore from carrying that entire episode.
And you got people beating down the door to be on this thing too. So,
Oh, we do. All 12 listeners. For all 12 of you listening, we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So last week we started the vastness that was the Marvel MCU or Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got through one movie before we all had to go.
Mm-hmm.
B-Rob's wife was wondering where he went. Kyle's kid was wondering where he went.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids and wife didn't really care. They said, are you still here to me? So it's good that two of the three of us have family that actually care about them.
You're
so
just wondering
we'll
why you weren't still gone. So
yeah, it's like, why are you here? I don't know. Love you, honey. So we're going to continue on. Just as a recap, again, we went through the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which was Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
I think we hit all the points. Can you guys think of anything that we might have missed? I mean, I'm sure there's something we missed. I just can't think of anything.
I don't know anybody that can hit everything, so I think we did a really good job.
I do too.
If people are listening and you haven't seen Iron Man yet, and you're trying to say like, well, do I need to watch Iron Man or go back and listen to our coverage of Iron Man? You can actually watch Iron Man quicker than you can our coverage of Iron Man. It'll take you a lot less time, so you might want to go back and do,
that's true.
and do that.
So we don't have a new sponsor this week. We're trying to squeeze Horny Harry out of every penny he's got. Yeah. So it's the same sponsor again. So Kyle, go ahead and play last week's
go ahead and let
sponsor, and then
we'll let Harry's run again.
Hey, Horny Harry here. My business of Horny Harry's Big Game Horn Mountain has gone so well it's allowing me to expand. Have you ever watched Walker, Texas Ranger and thought, man, it's really not fair that car on the show has horns and mine doesn't? Well, first take it by Horny Harry's Big Game Horn Mountain and we can fix that. Then go next door to Horny Harry's Hand-On Car Wash. No one can clean the horn better than our professionally trained staff. They'll make sure to professionally hand wash your horns and car with the best of care. Choose from our convenient menu of services. If you want a gentle hand wash, we can do it. If you like it more rough, we can do it. If you want us to take the chrome off your bumper, we can do that too. We even got a secret menu where you can ask for the Happy Horning. If you like any of that, come on down, cowboy. Happy Horning not available in all states. Please consult with a mechanic if your pain experiences mild flaking, bumper groups, and you might not be able to get back up.
Wow, that was just great.
I love Harry. Such a great person.
I love Harry too. He's a great person. He's really branching out, and he keeps letting us. Good thing in his contract that we said, no matter how many times we pay this, he has to pay us.
Mm-hmm. So you might hear it again for the
thank
end of the
you,
episode,
Harry. 100%. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the Incredible Hulk. Let's go here with this is the 2008 version of Incredible Hulk. This is actually MCU. The first one was, what was the first one? It was
just
wasn't
Hulk,
the Incredible
wasn't it?
Hulk. It was
Just the Hulk.
It was just Hulk.
The Hulk.
The Hulk was, I want to say 2002-ish, somewhere around there. Directed by Ang Lee. This was I don't often say movies are piles of rubbish. I believe movies are the purest form of entertainment you can get, because you can get two people who dislike each other intensely and sit them in the same theater And more than likely, they're going to go through the same emotions, the same roller coasters, unless they're soulless, which happens too. But Kyle,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a pure form of entertainment, and I love it. And I pretty much can find something good about every movie. I really couldn't find a lot good about Hulk. Ang Lee never watched or read anything Hulk related, and you could really tell when he did it. This is the one with Eric Bana in it, and who was the lead as Betty?
Jennifer Connelly.
That's right, it was Jennifer Connelly. Again, this one was, my opinion, was rubbish. What did you guys think of it?
I mean, not much stuck with me from that one. So, you know,
Right.
It just wasn't there.
I agree. I go ahead, B-Rob.
Yeah, and I always think there's just a level of disrespect for the product when you don't do any research whatsoever. And even if you were never going to tie it in anything or do another sequel, I mean, it was a dumpster fire. And like I don't take much away from it. I've tried to erase it other than having Jennifer Connelly in it.
A little saving grace.
Yeah, it was, but I've had no desire to ever rewatch it, if that tells you anything. And I love rewatching movies. I really do. I can tell you almost every movie I've watched at least twice, and I've never had a desire to go back to this one. So,
well, and there's some movies that are just like Green Lantern. That's one that like I hated the script, but I continuously rewatch it because I love the character, and that's how I feel like the Hulk. Except I can't force myself, like you said, I can't force myself to rewatch that one personally.
Amen. Kyle, is there any movies that you feel the same?
Yeah, it's not related to anything that we're talking about, but I think I hardly ever turn a movie off if I'm watching it at home or whatever. And I think the only movie I've ever just completely turned off, like, nope, I can't finish this, is Master of Disguise. I just can't. I can't finish that damn movie.
Master of Disguise.
Is that Dana Carvey?
It is.
Yes,
I love
the one where he's the turtle.
Dana Carvey, and I just couldn't.
Turtle.
I tried so hard, and I watched some stupid shit, and I could not. I couldn't do it.
Right.
Like I'll watch Corky Romano on a regular basis, and that's one of the dumbest movies ever. But I'm with Kyle. I couldn't do Master of Disguise again or Hulk. And I mean, there's a couple movies I couldn't do. So with that, let's actually delve into The Incredible Hulk. 2008, this one's starring Edward Norton as Robert Bruce Banner, or just Bruce Banner, as he's known in this movie. We also have an appearance by Lou Ferrigno. Who is Lou Ferrigno? Anyone jump in?
The original TV series Hulk.
Do you guys know how he became to be the Hulk? Like how they, what he was doing before he was Hulk?
Bodybuilding, wasn't it?
Yep, bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think that was around the same time period. Let's see, was Hulk 80s or 70s, the TV show?
Look, you're thinking probably close to
70s, I
Conan
think.
the Barbarian time period, maybe.
So that would have been around, the same time period as Arnold made it big. I'm guessing. So my guess is they tried to double that up. If they said this formula works, even though Arnold couldn't speak, and I believe it was Hercules in New York was his first role, and he couldn't speak any English at the time. So I think they were just trying to make this formula work again.
The Incredible Hulk.
But the difference is Lou Ferrigno was amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
The TV show came out in 77. Ran from 77 to 82.
Okay.
And just for comparison, Stephen Conan the Barbarian was actually like 82.
Oh, I said that was 80.
So, yeah.
I thought it was before.
So Hulk predates Conan by about 4 or 5 years.
I stand corrected. So maybe they were trying out the Arnold thing because of Lou Ferrigno. Anyways, Lou Ferrigno is kind of a trailblazer. I mean, he didn't have any speaking parts except grunting. But to me, he's the classic Hulk. he is the epitome of what the classic Hulk is, because that's what I grew up watching a lot of on, of course, syndication.
Yeah.
But
And I think the cool thing about that is, my son has never watched. He's 6, to be 7. He's never watched that. But we went to the Comic-Con. I think it was Tulsa Pop Kids a couple of years ago, and Lou Ferrigno was there signing, and he just saw some of the memorabilia and stuff, and really, really wanted to meet him and got an autograph. And Lou Ferrigno, he thought Tinker's name was like the coolest name ever. I'm sure he says that to everybody, but it was just cool. He sat there and talked to Tinker, and I'm not sure Tinker could understand half of what he was saying, but but it was just kind of a cool deal, and Tinker has that hanging in his room.
Cool.
See, that's awesome. You are a cool dad, my friend, for taking your kid to that.
I'm glad I have a cool kid that likes nerdy stuff.
Will you adopt
See,
me,
that's awesome
B-Rob?
because when we
I will.
Aw.
can we call you Poppy?
Yeah.
Well, you're both almost the same size as Tinker, so it would work out.
Which it would. That hurt.
Now,
that hurt
listen.
a lot.
I mean, he could get some good sparring partners in before wrestling season starts.
Oh,
next
he would.
year.
Are you kidding me? He's your kid, so he's more athletic than both Kyle and I combined.
Yeah. I really feel weird now that we're going to fight your 7-year-old kid for your love. That's cool. You're going to spar us off again.
Well, I think
Way it should be.
I think the best thing is Kyle going, "We're gonna fight your 7-year-old kid for your love," and he starts drinking,
Yeah.
starting to get some courage up.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, Kyle is drinking some whiskey, I believe, to get the courage up to fight the 7-year-old,
I
to
am.
fight Tinker.
I am. I swore a long time ago would not let a 7-year-old kick my ass again. So
Again, but damn it, it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
Now what I think is really cool, B-Rob, is that when we were growing up, our dads, I can tell you, well, my dad wouldn't have even thought to take me to a Comic-Con because, well, frankly, there wasn't Comic-Cons at that time that I know of. But I could tell you for a fact that my father, who was in the military, turned out to be a banker. He wouldn't have taken me to that. Like with him, it was, he was, don't get me wrong, he was a great dad. He was always there, loves me unconditionally, which is good because I'm me. But for him, it was like, oh, let's do baseball, let's go do golf. It was sports related. Right. He wouldn't have done this. So I think it's great that you're able to share one of your passions with your son, and I'm assuming loves it as much as you do, especially for a 7-year-old.
Yeah, no, he loves it. He gets confused with I'm glad there hadn't been a whole lot of recasts in his life so far, because it would really confuse him. But no, he really digs it. He gets confused about why there's so many Green Lanterns and stuff like that, but we're
he's in for a shock when HBO Max hits the Green Lantern Corps.
Right.
So which I'm super pumped about that. You're going to be on that episode when we talk about that. Because I know you like Green Lantern as much as I do. Okay, so who else was in this movie? Betty Banner. Or not, she wasn't Betty Banner at this time. It was Betty Ross, was played by, and B-Rob brought this up last week,
Liv Tyler,
which I thought she did a phenomenal job. Like, I would love to see her brought back for the MCU. I really would. I thought she did a great job in that movie. Just because, well, and I think, she's gorgeous anyway, and I think she's a really good actress.
I love me some Liv Tyler.
I mean, I don't know if there's a character that was played, a character of relevance that was played that I don't want brought back in this movie, whether it was Abomination. They set the scene for the leader. Thunderbolt Ross is obviously, he's still playing that character now.
Yeah.
William Hurt is, so.
And we will get to William Hurt here, but he is Thunderbolt Ross. Like, everything that I ever read about Thunderbolt Ross in the comics, I think William Hurt plays to a T. So I really enjoy his performance, but I agree.
And I love Sam Elliott. I'm a huge Sam Elliott guy, and that's like the only role that was like, oh man, I wish they would have had somebody else do Thunderbolt Ross in the first one, because it's just how it was done. I mean, William Hurt's done the best job.
Right. I forgot that was Sam Elliott. That's how much I did not care to rewatch this movie, if that tells you all anything. We also have a appearance by Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in this one. So, I mean, it's a small appearance, but he's in there. Okay, so I've got to be rubbed. I think you probably watched it more recent than I. Do you want to start with a recap of what the movie's actually about?
Oh man, I knew you were going to do this to me.
You're welcome.
I don't remember the very beginning much. I really just kind of remember how they tracked him down. Like he ended up on the run after transforming. I think he killed a bunch of people, destroyed a bunch of stuff. Ends up in Brazil, I think, working in a factory. Something happens. Somehow I think he cut his hand. Some blood ends up in a in a can of whatever they were canning, and somebody got really sick from gamma poisoning, I think, and that's how they tracked him down to Brazil.
Right. They were attempting to reinvigorate or redo the super soldier serum, which created Captain America. That's a little bit of the backstory. This movie had very, very mixed reception. I liked it. I thought it was way better than the first one, than Hulk. So I enjoyed Edward Norton's take on it, and I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't ask him to come back. Although I do like Mark Ruffalo a lot as Hulk.
Well, and I read that originally the director wanted Ruffalo.
Really?
That's something that I read at some point. The Ruffalo was the first choice,
and he ended up being him in the end.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, maybe it was because Norton had more screenwriting experience, because I think Edward Norton came in and rewrote part of the script when they hired him on.
Isn't Edward Norton? He's a Hulk fan, isn't he? I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's why it worked. Like Tim Roth. I remember Tim Roth was a fan. I'm pretty sure maybe it was William Hurt's kid was like the Hulk was his favorite character. And so, they were all, I don't know what Liv Tyler's really connection to it was, or if she enjoyed it, but I feel like they all were excited about the material. And I think that's a lot about the Marvel universe and tying into the eccentricities and just who these people are to make make the character.
Right. So basically, like I said, it's we also get introduced to, is it Emil Blonsky? Yeah, Emil Blonsky. We get introduced to him. He's in the Special Forces team, I believe. Ross's Special Forces.
Yep.
That's right. Emil Blonsky, who later becomes the Abomination, who is a classic Hulk villain, which honestly, I love the Abomination. He's one of my favorite, I guess you could say, frenemies of the Hulk, because they're not always enemies. Sometimes they work together, but the majority of the time they fought. And I guess that's more when, what's his name? Rick, was Hulk's friend in the comic. Was it Rick Jones?
Rick, yeah, he ends up becoming
the Abomination, the new Abomination.
Well, but in the cartoon Hulk and the Agents of Smash, it's not blue. He's blue, but I can't remember what exactly is, because he's like Red Hulk and him and
what was his name?
The young one was. I just started watching that the other day.
Okay, hold on. I'm Googling this.
Smash. I thought that would be one that I could get my little guy into, because he freaking just loves Hulk.
What's a good one? It really is. Scar was Hulk's son. What was his name?
A-Bomb.
That's right, A-Bomb. A-Bomb.
And then you have Scar, who was, like you said, his son.
Hulk's son. Yeah. So the Hulk has a varied history. I used to read Hulk a lot as a kid. I liked Hulk, but to me, Hulk was always just completely overpowered, and so sometimes it didn't make it a lot of fun to read. And that's why. But I did enjoy the movie for the most part. Like I said, I don't remember much about Hulk. I didn't go back and rewatch it just before we did this. I got a little busy, but for the most part, it was a good fight. We got introduced to Thunderbolt Ross again, but the official MCU Thunderbolt Ross. So, all in all, I'd give it a B+. Is there anything more you guys want to talk about? Because I really don't have a lot to say about Hulk. It's because it's MCU, but it's not MCU at the same time to me. Like it's kind of hard to explain because it's like in the MCU, but
fodder.
Yeah,
maybe
it doesn't have like the typical way that they do things.
It doesn't have the feel of the other movies.
Yeah, I'm excited about the possibility of them bringing in the leader and then Abomination later. If they can bring in Tim Blake Nelson as the leader or Tim Roth, I think those would both be cool things. Or just bring in the characters that are all. But other than that, I think there's so many good possibilities that could come moving forward.
So some of the a little bit more of the backstory of this that I had is notes was the director was Louis Leterrier, who directed all the Transporter movies with Jason Statham.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why the action scenes worked in this, because I liked those personally, and that worked for me. This was right after Marvel reacquired the rights for the movie, but Universal Pictures still had the distribution rights. That's why it was a little off. It wasn't a typical Marvel release. We're introduced to Thunderbolt Ross. There was a canister of on the canister of super soldier serum is Stark Industries as the producer and Dr. Reinstein as the developer. Joseph Reinstein is the alias of Dr. Abraham Erskine, who created Captain America. That's the link to the super soldier program. And the name of the program that Ross was heading up was Weapons Plus, which was to me that hinted at the Weapons X program, because I believe Weapons Plus, they delved a little bit into the comics. B-Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think they kind of did, but it's the Weapons X program is what created Wolverine, Omega Red, Maverick. Was Deadpool was Weapon X, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Deadpool was in there. They kind of jump started his.
Come out of that, or was he separate?
I want to say he was in there. Like they keep changing the histories depending on what decade it is. But I think you're right. I think Sabretooth did come out of that too. So I think that they were trying to hint at Wolverine, or at least that Wolverine was in this same universe. But Wolverine at the time was still Fox property.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't exactly say it and use the M word at the same time. Honestly, that's about it. What I have for that movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do want to go back and rewatch it now, just for the sheer fact that I don't remember as much from it, and I really feel like I'm missing something out of it, and that might be a evening thing just to go back and catch up on it again.
And as you can tell, that's how much we actually care about this movie. We're not really going that in depth into it, all three of us.
Yeah.
So, and my allergies are killing me. If you guys, I keep scratching my nose. If you guys are watching this, I promise my cocaine addiction's gone last week. But my allergies are killing me right now. It's under control.
It's under control.
Is it though?
Is it?
Okay. So now we're going to delve into Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 is the second installment of the Iron Man series, which we hit. That's the only thing we hit the first episode of MCU, but which really gave us the first glimpse into the MCU itself. So they're looking to capitalize on this. They tried to go really big with this one. I think they tried to go a little bit bigger with this one than they did with the first one, especially with the star power. It was May 7th, 2010 when it came out, and it was directed by John again. Which thank God he has his hands in all these.
Yeah.
Or else the source, the source material. I don't think it. Yeah, go ahead.
I said this one really felt like the first, like the feel that you have for all the Avengers movies. After this set the scene for that. I think this one, like, it seems like where they really they found the stride, they found the rhythm, they found the style that they're going after, and then tying everything else in. This one, I think, more so. I mean, the original Iron Man was important because that technically kicked everything off. But I think this is the one that really set the stage for the whole universe and everything going forward, as far as style and feel and kind of what to expect from the rest of the movies after this.
I agree with that. I never thought of it that way, but I wholeheartedly agree with that. B-Rob, you got anything?
I mean, I liked it. I was concerned about where they were headed, having to use, not that I don't like Mickey Rourke, but having to use Whiplash.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt there were better alternatives out there to continue to push the story, and just do things. But it ended up being good. It ended up working out. We're never going to see Mickey Rourke again in a Marvel movie, I don't think. So, and I always like those kind of opportunities where, oh man, it'd be great if they brought this back to do this, how they're going to do with the new Spider-Man, bringing in Jamie Foxx and, I can't remember his name. The guy who played the Otto Octavius, but bringing in those guys who did such a good job with those characters later on.
Alfred Molina.
Yep, Alfred Molina. So
I agree, and we're gonna talk about Mickey Rourke in this too, because I had the same thoughts when I first watched it. I did enjoy the movie. Don't get me wrong. I did enjoy the movie because, again, it's a person that I read about growing up. Like, it became, superheroes, and they actually did a really good job. And this is when CGI was finally catching up and making the movies a lot better. What was way different about this movie is, compared to the previous movies, is we did not have, this is a major recast to me, was Rhodey was recast in this movie. We went from Terrence Howard to Howard. I promise I haven't been drinking. I just had a nip earlier. We went from Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Is it Cheadle? Cheadle? What did we decide it is?
I don't know. I say Cheadle.
Cheadle. Don Cheadle.
Don.
You get to be you try to be too fancy with every last name, so
I really do. I just want to give everyone their due opportunity. Shadali. Don Cheadle. Let's talk about Don Cheadle. What do you guys think? What did you think about him in this compared to the Terrence Howard? How did you guys feel when you saw Rhodey for the first time as being recast?
Go ahead, Kyle.
I mean, it was a little bit of a shock because when I watched Iron Man 2, I didn't watch it in theaters. I think I was like 2 years late on that, so I had some time in between. A little bit of a shock, but I think he did well.
I thought he did great. I'm not sure what I really remember at the time. What I remembered him in, there was only one movie I could think of in my mind. Like, man, who is this guy? And it was a movie that really, I don't think anybody else had really ever seen, or not many people because I don't talk about. But it was The GOAT. It was about Earl Manigault, a basketball player. He was a stud back in the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar days. or Lou Alcindor back at that time, because it was during that high school time, but it was an HBO movie, and that's what I really remembered him from, because it was such a great movie to me. But I thought he did good, and like we previously talked about, long term as it's unfolded, I don't know if I could see Terrence Howard being that consummate teammate that I always saw War Machine as, and Rhodey.
Yeah.
So I thought they'd made the right move, and I thought he did really good.
I agree. And you're talking about the GOAT. I've never seen it, never even heard of it. So thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, no, I've never heard. When I watched it, I couldn't tell you one thing that I saw him in anything. So this was kind of my first introduction to him. I mean, I may have seen something with him in it, but it's not one of those. For me, it wasn't even one of those. I know his face. Where have I seen him from? It wasn't even that for me. But I enjoyed his performance. I thought he did a great job in it. I really did. And at this point, I can't see anyone else's War Machine just because he's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
So
I think you think that's just coming from us seeing him so much in that role now that we can't imagine seeing anybody else? Like if it would have been flip-flop the other way around, we would still be having the same thing? Or do you think he actually just owns the role?
I think you're hitting it on the head right there. It's just from seeing him for so long.
So as we're talking about this, I'm going back and looking at his filmography. So he had all the Ocean's 11 movies.
Oh,
I guess I knew he was in those, but for some reason, at the time, I guess it didn't click. He was in Swordfish, which I love.
Oh, that's right.
He had an uncredited cameo in Rush Hour 2, which I remember after the fact. He was in Traffic. I mean, there was a Boogie Nights. I mean, there's a lot of movies here. I don't necessarily remember him in all of them as I'm reading this, but he was in them.
Who was he in Rush Hour 2? Because I love those movies.
He's the cousin. He's like a cook. When Chris Tucker's character, they're like, or he's not a cook, but maybe he owns a restaurant. Yeah, but he's in that one. He's like pretending to be Japanese, or he's absorbed in the culture or whatever.
That's right. He was in when they went into the back way. That's right. I didn't even know that was him.
Yeah.
Now you all are going to go look that up if you like Rush Hour.
Right.
I'm scrolling through his filmography now, just seeing.
See, and that's the kind of crap that you go through with this show. We will start telling you about stuff, and we're going to learn with you. That's what I really like about our show. Is it's like, oh, he was in that. Oh, he was in that. And then I just learned, from B-Rob, he was in Rush Hour 2, and this is who he was, and that just kind of clicked at this point.
Well, and that's the thing I love about every one of these episodes, and why it's not intimidating to come on here, is because you don't have to feel like you have to be right or you have to know everything. You can sit here and I'm going to look this up right now because I really don't remember, and then we can talk about it, and then we're learning something. So I mean, that's the thing I love.
That's what I'm doing 50% of the time.
Just...
Yeah, me too. But thank you for that, B-Rob. We appreciate that. We're just two guys just trying to be ourselves and hope someone learns something along the way. And
total side note, the role-playing episode you guys did, I know jack about any of that, so that was a total just learning everything. So it was very interesting. Get
ready. In a couple weeks here, we're doing a Spelljammer one, and it's a role-playing. It was I had a buddy helping me cable the house this weekend, and so I'm able to stream. I did my stream last night, Kyle. I had 5 people in it. So you know what? That's a victory.
Heck yeah, it is.
5 people. I'll
just
take.
Got to average 3, man.
Not the 32 that you had the last time you streamed, but damn it, I'll take 5. I was expecting 0. Where was I going with this? Oh, Andy, Spelljammer. And he was telling me kind of about Spelljammer, and it's set in the D&D universe. And it's so here's D&D, and here's Spelljammer. And the Spelljammer also goes like this, and then it goes out, and it branches out. So it's going to be really fun, because Kyle and I don't know jack squat about it. So we're going to be learning too. Like, we're going to talk to them so we know what questions to even ask, and they're going to explain it. But it sounds like a lot of fun. And basically, the way it was explained to me is Dungeons and Dragons meets Star Trek in space.
But isn't Star Trek in space?
Yes, but Dungeons and Dragons isn't. This
In
is like
space.
it's
Okay,
a
gotcha.
wooden ship. You're kind of like a pirate and like in the ether.
And this is why I
what it's
don't do that,
called.
because I would literally be getting like little pieces, little figurines thrown at me as I said, but isn't it in space?
Yeah.
So,
So it's
My
going to be
immersion.
fun. They're going to explain. They've written campaigns for it, so it's going to be fun. So if you enjoyed learning about role playing, we're going to learn with you on this one.
Yeah, that'd be a really cool one.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Coming back to Iron Man. Don, we like Don. I think we all agreed on that. And they pulled in Mickey Rourke on this one. Mickey Rourke was most famous for his role in, was it Raging Bull?
He was in Marlboro Man, Harley Davidson. He was. That's what I remember him from.
wrestler, I feel like his
When was the wrestler?
cricketing.
Yep, we're all clicking.
08, 07, 08, maybe.
So it was before Iron Man 2?
I think so, because I felt like he was
It was
coming
08.
off.
Yep.
I feel like he was coming off because that got a lot of acclaim for him, and I felt like that was the reason why he got this role almost.
I agree. And then he also played, what I remember him from was, I don't remember him anything before this because he was a bigger star in the 70s, 80s, I believe. I'm scrolling. Hold on. I might be completely off base with this. 80s. Yeah, 70s and 80s. I'm looking here because I know there's one he's most famous for. He was in Johnny Handsome. I don't remember that.
Once Upon a Time in
The
Mexico.
only other thing I remember him that I
love that
watch
movie.
quite frequently is The Expendables.
Yeah, I remember that. I love the Expendables. We need to do episodes on those because I think those are classics, cult classics.
Oh, for sure.
So okay, well, we'll write that down.
Yeah. If you haven't watched
Well,
Harley Davidson
here
and
it-
Marlboro Man, that's a good one to watch with him in it. Though.
That's a great movie. I honestly forgot he was in it.
I did too. Okay,
Mhm.
do
Well,
a
he
quick
looks so
recap what
different.
it is, Kyle.
Right.
Oh, it's been I
Like
need to
quick
go through that.
high overview. High overview.
I'll just kind of do it's like him and a buddy, and they had to like rob a bank or something because somebody they were going in foreclosure? Yeah, like a friend's bar was going in foreclosure, and they decided to rob a bank, and it's kind of that. It's Mickey Rourke and Don Johnson. So if that doesn't get you want to watch it, I don't know, what will. I watched it last time was probably a few years ago, but it's kind of coming off of the end of the 80s cheesy action stuff into the early 90s. It's just it's just a fun movie to watch. They feed off each other real well, and he looks so much different because I think that was before because he got his face messed up in he went back to amateur boxing or something like that. Then had some
that's the thing I
like,
remember is he was
plastic
a
surgery.
boxer.
Yeah,
He was a real boxer?
and some
Mhm.
plastics.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he left acting to go retrain to do it again
I didn't know that.
yeah.
after
so he
the
That's why he
movie
looks-
Kyle's talking about.
quite a bit different.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm
I-
punching myself right
bunch of
now
broken bones and
because
stuff.
I forgot that he was in Sin City.
Yep, that's what I was going to
And
go to. That's what I remember him
I
from.
love Sin City. That's one of my favorite movies.
I love Sin City too. He was Marv in Sin City. The guy who basically took like glass to the face and just kept walking. But Sin City, yeah, I remember him from Marv and then Marv in Sin City. And then he was also in, I forgot about this, he was in Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yep.
He played Billy.
I'm about to go back and rewatch that now.
You're going to go Google it real quick.
I'm gonna rewatch
So that's really what I remember him from. The Expendables came out the same year as Iron Man 2. That was 2010. I don't know which came first, the Iron Man or the Expendable egg, but it was one of the two. But if you don't know who he is, that's who he is. To me, because he was in an MCU movie, I think that got him a little bit more stream. Completely my opinion. But to me, that got him a little bit more mainstream because I remembered his I remembered him from Sin City, but it was like one of those, like, I can't really tell you who this guy is. But he did play Ivan Vanko or Whiplash. Whiplash was to me, he was more of a littler known B villain for Iron Man. I never thought he was an A villain, and that's why I was completely disappointed that they chose Whiplash for this. Like, because, you know, there's so many. You could have gone Mandarin in this one. You could have gone the Stark. You could have done there's a lot of people who you could have chosen, and that's why Whiplash to me was just kind of I mean, what do you guys think of him in there?
I agree, especially since, you know, our first time we were talking about it, I got off on that Mandarin tirade.
Yep.
So I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I Whiplash. Oh, okay. And then so
Kyle, what'd you think?
So I don't have a lot of reference like pre those movies of who I would have liked to seen as a villain in that. I mean, I have my thoughts on it, maybe why you're saying, you know, they went with the B villain. And this was still kind of early in the whole time of the MCU lifeblood. You know, it was still early in everything going, and so I think maybe they were trying to, I don't want to say use him as a filler, but, you know, try to get some more hype and things going for down the road. Then you can release, you know, the bigger baddies down the road, or you don't want to, you know, use that all up right off the bat. And so for me, coming in as like nobody with any point of reference to what would be a good Iron Man villain before that, I liked him in it. I just thought he was a cool character. I liked his look, his mannerisms, the way he talked, the way he was one of my favorite villains through the whole course of everything. And I think it was just because I thought, like, and he looked badass.
See, and again, that's what this show is. It's we don't always have to agree on everything. Like B-Rob and I were kind of like, and Kyle liked him, and that's cool. That's completely cool. And I like the reason you like it, instead of just saying I just liked him. Here's why. Very well thought out, sir.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, I had no, like, if I would have had the background like you guys had, where, you know a lot of the lore and back history and all these different points of reference, I probably would have came from the same you guys did, but coming from somebody that just had nothing to go off of, I liked him.
Well, see, and I think that's exactly why I was disappointed, because I had a lot of Iron Man comics. I had a lot of them. And, you know, like I said, he was never my favorite, but he was a steady collection of mine. And that's why for me, it was just kind of, Whiplash. Okay.
Could that have been, you think, maybe a reason they went that route with it? Because they knew using Mickey Rourke, they could make this bad guy badass bad guy, visual and all that, and that would appeal to people like me at the time who had nothing to go off of from before. That, you know, I've got no reason to be disappointed as long as they make the big bad cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think he brought some duality to it, as far as you could see him being, you know, the tough badass, but then you could also see, okay, yeah, he's a pretty smart dude. He can pull off doing what he's doing with the suits, and, you know, being the physicist or whatever he was. But I don't know a whole lot of actors that could really pull off both of those, from the looks to the actual acting. So I thought he did a great job. It was just you know, and to your point, they were definitely not going to bring in, you know, some of the ultimate big baddies. They were saving in for the team ups. You know, they're not going to bring in Kang. They're not going to bring in, there's no reason to bring in Galactus or Thanos at that point, Ultron. I mean, they're just, the big ones all seem to be, it takes multiple people to take them down. And, you know.
And to that point, they didn't have Galactus either. Galactus was a Fox property, because Fox owned Fantastic Four, and Galactus was in the cosmic universe with them, so they couldn't have on that one.
Right. And Kang too, because Kang
too, right?
Yeah.
Right. And any of the Fantastic Four villains, they couldn't have brought in. Any of the X-Men villains, they couldn't have brought in.
Right.
And which sucks is because a lot of those Avengers classic canon villains, crossover events, they happened a lot with the Fantastic Four. So I think
And
we
that's
really
why
need.
I felt like they did Civil War too soon.
Oh, you think so with that?
I think it would have been so much better. It would have been like 4 movies,
Mhm.
but seeing how they split and why they split, and the impact that Reed Richards has on being on the side he was on.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a lot more to it that could have been brought, but I get it. It's way too much.
Right.
I get it, but
Oh, I can't wait to have you back for Phase 2 when we talk about Civil War. Because I liked Civil War, but I agree with you. There's some stuff that like I referenced in the comics. I'm like, wait a minute, why did they go this direction instead of this direction?
could you imagine if they had Tom Holland just pulling his mask off
No.
in any frame? I mean, that's my thing. That's just such an impactful moment in that series that you completely understand what that as a person, what that's fixing to do to him.
Right.
So.
And I agree.
Anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. I like that.
So what do we think about them bringing Scarlet, Black Widow into this?
Yep, she's actually the next one. I absolutely loved it. I've always liked Black Widow just because she is one of your non-super powered Avengers. And she is the first female hero in the Marvel Universe, to me. Some would argue that it could have been Pepper or Betty, but I'm talking the ones that actually fight the bad guys. So to me, it's really cool that the Widow was in there, and she did a phenomenal job in this movie. Like, I remember the first time that when she was undercover, and then she had to run out, and she took down that guy doing that spin around. Was it around his neck or his arm?
Oh, the Hurricane Rada. Oh my god.
Yes. I just remember being in the theater going, "Oh, damn!" So it's really cool.
I just wanted to stand up and salute because I mean that was amazing.
It was. They did. I think they did her character justice. I really do. And
I can't imagine anybody else playing her.
No, I can't either. And then, and now hopefully at some point we'll get to see the Black Widow movie, which is almost a year past its due date.
April, right?
I think April. Did they say Disney Plus finally?
I haven't heard that. I thought it was still coming out in the theaters, but I thought it was the next Marvel one.
Yeah. And then they pushed Eternals back to summer, I think.
Right. So was it Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings? I think that's before Eternals.
Yeah, that's supposed to be I want to say that's June, May or June. Which I love Shang-Chi. Also, he's the master of Kung Fu. Who was really big in the Marvel Team-Ups comic.
Right.
I was going to say the What Ifs, but it was the Marvel Team-Ups.
I think Black Widow movie right now, like the latest thing, this is just still from a few days ago. They're still scheduling for release at cinemas on May 7th. So it's shown for a full cinema
they kicked
release.
it back.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
personally,
Disney is currently not considering a streaming release for Black Widow. So it may just be all big screen.
Which I think as of, January 31st, 2021 at 8:30 p.m., I think that's a mistake because we're still in the middle of this pandemic. It's not getting any better right now. The vaccinations aren't happening as fast as they thought they would. So I don't think the theaters are going to be back to normal by May. I really don't.
I don't think they'll be back to normal. I think for me, I want to see how many new movies are truly coming out. Because if you can devote 8 to 10 theaters to it and socially distance, I mean, there's nothing like, I felt completely safe. We have HBO. We watch Wonder Woman here, but then I was like, man, some fat kid wants some popcorn. Let's go. So we went and did that, and there was literally, I took the kids to see The Croods 2. I mean, both times there was like 40 people in the entire theater, and it was your space. So if you can do that across multiple theaters at the one complex, I think that's trying to give some sense of normalcy, even though we know we're not there.
Yeah.
But I think you got to give people the option. I mean, I think you need to do it kind of like they did with Wonder Woman, given the option for this limited time, it'll be on HBO and then it'll be in theaters. I think that's the smart move.
Oh, I agree. I agree. My whole point is right now, I don't think it's a smart move to bank only on theaters.
Yeah.
If you want to make some money, a lot of people didn't like the new Wonder Woman. I loved it. I really did. It was just fun. I mean, I had some complaints, but it was nothing that was enough where I didn't enjoy it.
Right.
But I kind of think I enjoyed the opportunity getting to see it at home. And then being able to, if you want the option, like B-Rob said, go to the theater and watch it.
Yeah.
That's just more money for them. It really is. Right. If they can do that and give the options to people, I think that's, like you're saying, absolutely saying the safest bet.
Yeah. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to. It's just about working in that partnership. So
I agree.
Yeah, they got the streaming partnership side now with Disney, and a lot can change between now and then.
Well, and how much money? I mean, look at how much money Mulan made. Everybody said, "Oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that." Well, millions of people did. So,
yeah, who did that? I'm raising my hand. There's two of us raising our hand out of three. I liked the Mulan movie. I'm sorry, it wasn't.
I mean, my kids watched it 5 times in like 3 days.
Really?
And that's without music. So I mean, to me, that's amazing. And my daughter's running around with a sword, a fake sword. But so I think it again it proves this point. There's a female empower. It empowers young girls. It doesn't always have to be what the traditional Disney, the original Disney was. I love what they did with it. So
right.
But we're going off on a different deal. But the big deal is you got to have options to make money and to get your product out to the people right now.
Right. Going off on a different deal. Have you guys listened to our first 4 episodes? This is what we do. But you know what? It comes back because B-Rob was talking about female empowerment. That's what Black Widow is.
See what I did there?
See, it's all full circle.
You've been playing that this whole time, you did it. It was intentional.
So here's what Black Widow is to me. She's kind of the heart of the Avengers to me. She's kind of the steady one. They all trust her. And she's the super spy, but the superpowered beings in the Avengers all trust her. So I think she's kind of a focal point for them, which I thought was kind of awesome.
I don't know if I ever felt like that. As far as she was the heart, because I did totally understand and respect like what they did to ensure that she gained the trust of everybody. Like you would say, she had to work doubly hard because of all the red in her ledger, as she always
literally red
always mentions. Yeah.
The Russian.
Yeah.
Any of our Russian listeners, which out of the 12 of you listening, I don't think there's one. We don't mean anything by that. Kyle might, but I don't. B-Rob doesn't.
I mean every single word of it.
Bastard. Drink your whiskey, Your Honor.
No, but Black Widow, she was amazing in this movie. They really set her up, and I feel like the movies from there on just continue to build her character.
Right. Now, was the Widow Sting in this one, or was that? Am I thinking of like Winter Soldier when they introduced her the Widow Sting? The little gauntlet.
I thought she had a something on her hand. She didn't throw the discs, I thought she had something on her hand when she's taking out like 15 guys and Happy's beating up one. I thought she used something there. I might be wrong.
I think you're right. Did she like punch them together in someone's head and it like shocked them? It was the early version of the Sting.
It was something like that, I thought.
Damn it! I'm gonna have to go rewatch this to just figure it out now. in case you guys didn't know, we didn't rewatch any of these.
Mm-mm.
Too, this is all off memory. So you guys may say, "Hey, you guys forgot about this part." Go to our Discord. Let us know. Go to our Facebook. Just
Yeah.
let us know if we got something we missed. We openly admit it.
Yep.
Just
Yeah,
let
I'll
us
buy you
know.
a beer for every time you say I'm wrong. So that's gonna be a lot of beers. I like
Just
to
a lot
drink
of.
too.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch this when we're done. Be probably buy me some beer.
That's right. I think I talked to you last time. You said I'm out of beer. So
no, I was out of whiskey last time and I was drinking beer. Now I'm out of beer and I have whiskey.
oh, that's what it was.
yeah.
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
it's full circle now.
Oh, excuse me, sir. It was something. Now the big thing in Iron Man, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's the Armored Avenger because he has all these armors. In the first Iron Man movie, we saw 2 different armors. The first one was the Mark 1. That one was the big clunky one, the gray, the one that they welded together and used like the Apple II to write the code for. Up to this movie, we have up to the Mark 6, I believe. The first movie went up to Mark 3. I don't know if we ever saw the Mark 2. We might have. The Mark 2, I think, was the first prototype he was flying out and crashed in, and then we got to the Mark 3. That's where we ended. Once Iron Man 2 hit, when we are at the Stark Expo, when Whiplash comes out and he cuts the little what are those? Are those F1 cars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
think
open
it
wheel
was.
cars.
It's
Yeah.
Formula One.
When he cut them and he put down the briefcase, that is the Mark 5. That's the silver and red one from the briefcase, which isn't as hefty as the other ones. The one at the Stark Expo is the Mark 4. And then we have the Mark 6, which is so all of the armors up until now have had the arc reactor in a circle on his chest. When we got to the Mark 6, that's the classic golden red, that has the triangular arc reactor in it, which is more in line with some of the mid to late 90s comics, early 2000s. Why they changed it, I don't know. What did you guys like about the armors? What didn't you like about the different armors that he's worn up until now? I mean, thoughts?
I'm going back and kind of looking at pictures of the old ones. I remember the suitcase one being different. I did not remember it being that different. There is a stark, no pun intended, but there is a stark contrast. Oh, somebody had to do it.
So funny.
I'm not sure I really paid attention to it until we got later on and just the cool ways that he put it on.
Right.
Where I really started paying attention because it's always been, even looking at like the Funkos I have from the first movie to the other movies. I mean, there's obviously a contrast, but I mean the colors are similar. They just pop more or more refined. So
I think so I'm going back and looking at it. Mark 6 is very classic Iron Man looking, except for the arc reactor.
The triangle. Which that's the triangle we see in a lot of the later movies too.
Yeah, well, he carried it over. Well, there's some different versions of it as well. It was round. It went back to round, and then kind of a almost like not a hexagon, but shield shape. And then I like the round. Just if we're going to talk arc reactor, if we're going to talk arc reactor, I like the round.
So do you guys think it was just like a cosmetic thing in the armor and the arc reactor was still, because that was the thing that was keeping the shrapnel out of his heart. That was the big magnetic thing. Do you guys think he actually switched it out like you would like tennis shoes or, like some sort of fashion statement? Or do you think it was because he is Tony Stark, he's going to do what he wants? Or do you think it was just cosmetic, like a faceplate almost?
I think it's probably just cosmetic, just because Tony being Tony.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to. I mean, his arc reactor is round. I think it's just a cosmetic thing. Just to make something look a little bit cooler because there's just subtle variations other than color scheme from like the 5 kind of standing out from everything else.
Right.
It's still a pretty basic, similar design. I think it's just a cosmetic thing to look just something different. Or see if people will catch
I
it.
agree. So, other characters that we had in the movie, we see Nick Fury again. We see Agent Coulson, which, if you're not, you're starting to see a theme with Coulson appearing in 2 Marvel movies now. And we see Pepper Potts. Tony's was she still the secretary or assistant in this one? Or was she taking a bigger role in this one? I can't remember on that part.
She took a bigger role because that's why she brought on. I mean, Natasha ended up being her assistant at one point.
That's right. What was her name? Her name was Natalie Rushman when she was playing the undercover person.
Right.
Of course, John is happy, and Paul Bettany is Jarvis. Still is Jarvis's voice.
Mhm.
Very important to note about Paul Bettany as Jarvis's voice, and we'll get to that later. And this
then
one,
and Justin
Yep.
Hammer.
Yep, Justin
That-
Hammer. Who was
comic
Justin
relief.
Hammer?
He was, I mean, Tony's adversary as far as arms went. I mean, Hammer. Can't remember the name of his company, but yeah. But I mean, they were basically going for all the same DoD contracts, and his stuff just didn't always work near as well. So, and there's kind of the comic relief throughout some of the movies. So,
And I thought he did a really good job as Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. I thought he did a good job. I enjoyed his performance. Kyle, did you know who Justin Hammer was before this movie?
No, I did not. And I've been kind of reading a little bit more, and I actually went back and started watching some of the just from the last episode that we did where we talked about Tony Stark's ringtone being the theme song from the
The
animated
Invincible.
From I went back to start watching that this week. I think I just got through one episode because my little 5-year-old fell asleep and I didn't want to watch it by myself. I kind of like watching stuff with people, so
Nothing wrong with that.
but he was in the first episode of that, if I remember right. He was building a tunnel or something, and so I didn't before the movies though. No.
Okay, see, that's not a problem. It's Justin Hammer. Didn't he design the Whiplash the power suit that Mickey Rourke was wearing? That was his company, wasn't it? Or did they steal that from Tony? I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
I mean, I feel like because Howard Stark allegedly stole Vonko's dad's designs,
I forgot
and I
about
feel
that.
like
Yeah.
that was. I mean, I feel like that was Whiplash's own design with maybe some help from the resources that Hammer had, but I don't feel like Hammer had much to do with Whiplash's actual suit. I may be totally wrong on that, but
No, I'll go with that because that was actually really good. Oh, and speaking of, John Slattery was Howard Stark in this again. We saw him.
Mhm.
And another person of note, because he's going to come up in another episode that we're talking about, is Gary Shandling as Senator Stern. Very, very important to note this character. If you don't know why, just listen once we get to phase 2. He plays a pivotal role, in my opinion. Let me get back to my notes here. What direction did you guys think after watching Iron Man 2? What direction did you guys think that the MCU was going to take after this? Like, what were your thoughts after watching this? I know this was 11 years ago, but if you can remember that back that far, what did you think?
I just kind of remember thinking that this is the kickoff of something that's going to be big. I mean, Iron Man 1 was huge. You saw stuff everywhere when Iron Man 1 came out. Hulk, okay. And then Iron Man 2 came out, and like it just, you could see that the interest in it was just massive. It just grew and built off of that first one. So I just kind of remember thinking like there's going to be, that's before I even started looking into, seeing, okay, what's next? Just seeing that, like, there's going to be a lot more. Like, this is just the beginning of something really, really big, and this is going to be really, really cool. I remember loving the movie and was like excited to see what was coming next.
Yeah, I remember thinking that, all right, the Avengers is happening because you already have arguably 3, counting War Machine. And then I also just remember thinking they're the next bad guy is going to be a big one because you're not going to follow up Whiplash with another B player. So I remember being excited about that.
I'm exactly the same as both of you. I just remember how excited I was again because, it, and I will fully admit at the time I didn't realize that Hulk was part of MCU. I just thought it was another Marvel movie. I didn't know it was all connected at the time. But I was just excited the direction that they were going to take. And I remember saying, Avengers is coming. Avengers is coming. Avengers is coming. This means, are we going to see Cap soon? Are we going to see, who are we going to see in the Avengers? Because the Avengers roster has been so massive throughout the years and so many different iterations. There was Avengers West Coast. There was Avengers Great Lakes, which we don't talk about. The Avengers Initiative. There was, just all sorts of ones. And, who would they pull from? Like Photon, Captain Marvel, Black Knight, Black Knight was always one of my favorites.
Well, not only that, but the different players who played some of the same characters.
Right.
I mean, I remember thinking like, okay, so when's Ant-Man going to come into this? Because Ant-Man was, if not the founder, a founding member of the Avengers originally.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the Paul Rudd version.
Right. It was because this version, he wasn't comic relief in the Avengers. The Scott Lang that we know wasn't comic relief. Don't get me wrong. I love Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. I think he's amazing. But this is completely different from anything we've read. And then my question was, when were you going to see Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, or Hank Pym? Because Hank Pym has always been a steady Avenger.
And he was the original Ant-Man that was in the Avengers with Wasp. So I mean,
and the original Giant Man.
Yeah. So when you think of the Avengers, like who are the first 5 people really that come to your mind?
For me, that would be Captain America. That would be Thor. That would be the Wasp. That would be Ant-Man. And I would say I can name 4 just off the top of my head. Oh, and Iron Man. Duh. Yeah, I was like, I can't think of anyone else that would be original. It's Iron Man.
Right.
Kyle?
So that made me want to ask you guys a question. So you guys have so much vested in what would be canon, or what you think should be canon, or what is and what isn't canon, and how things tie in. And with all these different versions and iterations of the Avengers, and different universes and different timelines and things, from what, like, we're coming on now, like 60 years of comics. Would you have rather the MCU taken a very defined path on one of those storylines, or are you happier seeing things brought in from everything, made to work to be something like new and fresh? And
instead of taking what's canon, are we happy for the new direction it took?
Yeah. Are you? I mean, because if it was stuck with one storyline and stuck with canon, then I would think things would be fairly predictable. You're like, eventually you're going to get this big bad. And eventually, like, this is probably how the storyline is going to go because this is how it happened in the comics. This goes kind of back to that. Well, it didn't happen in the book this way. And very rarely do you get the movie that does better than the book, but this is a different beast, I think. This is telling a whole different story using a whole wide berth of source material. And so are you guys as long-term old school fans, like, what are your thoughts on the reimagining of everything and it trying to tell a whole new story using things that are familiar instead of sticking with a single storyline?
I can definitely appreciate and love as it goes with comic book movies a lot more than I can changing things, and whether it was Harry Potter or Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, leaving some key scenes I felt out. I can live with it when it comes, because there are just so many ways you can go. There are things I think I don't know if I would change anything knowing how it all plays out. As it was coming out, like, yeah, I probably would have stuck with Hank Pym and Janet originally, and then let the next cycle be Hope and Scott Lang, whatever. But I feel like the way they did it, kind of like we were talking about, starting with, you couldn't start this cycle with that Ant-Man movie. You couldn't have done it with Captain America. It would probably have been tough with Thor. So just the cycle on how they did everything. I mean, they're geniuses, and the way they tie everything in, all the little things, having Gary Shandling's character that we were just talking about, how that factored in, because you're always like, man, why is this person continuously in these movies? Or they're geniuses. So I wouldn't change anything. I'm very happy with how it played out. You always, Monday morning quarterback everything. So Matt, I think that just means you're invested in the product and you're a fan. So
I pretty much am going to echo what B-Rob said. I think if they would have stuck to source material, they did stick to source material, but they didn't at the same time. They went a whole different direction. And I think things don't always translate well when you go to the moving picture, television, movies. Sometimes it does, sometimes it's better. But I think this is one time where it was better the direction that they took versus letting the fanboys say it should have been this way because Scarlet Witch did this and this and this, but she actually appeared in episode 187 or issue 187. You couldn't do that with this one. They kept us guessing the entire time, and they did such a great job of keeping it secret. It was just exciting for me as a fanboy. And I'm not a toxic fanboy. I think you guys can figure that out, but it was just really exciting, and I liked the direction that they changed, and I think it was for the better. If it had gone any other way and they stuck to comics, I don't think it would have succeeded.
Well, you wouldn't have been surprised as much.
No, and I don't know if I would have been as vested, to be honest with you.
If it's something that you've already seen it, you already have a 90% idea of what's going to be happening. You already know it. You're just waiting to see it come from your imagination, what in what you've seen in the books to a screen versus
but that's to that point. It's always amazing to see how they pull off the things that you've only read in Word. Yeah, comic books are different because you've seen the graphics, but like I think about pulling off Ned Stark's beheading, and how they led up to that, and all the drama to Bilbo walking in on Smaug for the first time and seeing him. You always wonder how it's truly going to play out. The Harry Voldemort. I mean, there's just so many things. The battle of Hogwarts. I mean, you wonder how they're going to make it come to life on the screen. The problem I have with things is when they make another character do something they didn't. That's where I don't mind you leaving stuff out, but when you make certain people bigger characters than they really were, sometimes I struggle with that.
Can you give an example of that?
I can't in Marvel.
Just anything, any anywhere.
Well, like they made like Neville Longbottom a bigger character in the
Mhm.
Potter movies
Than
than
he should be.
he really was in the book. And then I know there's some Game of Thrones one that I'm just missing.
Right.
But that's probably the one that just I automatically go back to is, and then you always question like, why would you leave this scene out? And in some cases, like we were talking about, they didn't have the rights to be able to do certain things.
Yeah.
So again, but they're geniuses. So who are we, to question it? As long as we love it, we're not there bashing them like we are the very first Hulk movie, which we literally just talked about negatively. So
Who are we? I'm the guy paying $25 a ticket for IMAX.
right.
Damn it, they will listen to every word I have to say. And you brought this up, not me, but Peter Jackson, damn it, where's my Tom Bombadil?
Good example.
If you don't know who that is, wait till we do our Lord of the Rings one, because I'm sure I'm going to rant on that. Because he was a big part of the lore.
Right.
So yeah, that's my answer, Kyle. What about you?
As far as like something that changed up that bothered me, from source material, getting out of the MCU, but from source material to a movie that botched some stuff, and I like them both in their own right, was Ready Player One.
Yeah.
From source material to movie, completely different, if I would have just seen the movie, and so this is kind of this, I can tie this in. I can make this work, but if I would have just seen the movie, I'm like, okay, that's a cool movie. If I just read the book, it's a good book. Seeing the two together, I see the differences, and I can appreciate both of them in their own right. And I think that would kind of be the same here if I would have the background, the history of all the comics like you guys have. I would be able, I would see, okay, yeah, this where the differences lie, but can still appreciate the two, in their own right.
Material.
Yeah.
And see, I'd never read Ready Player One. My wife did. I only saw the movie, so I absolutely adore that movie.
Mhm.
Just with all the Easter eggs, and I'm like, I see the battle toads, and then I'm like, look, there's one of the Doom, and I'm just pointing out everything. Like, and then Gundam, I literally did the scream and the hands,
Mhm.
just because I love Gundam. So I can see what you're saying though, like between on your example.
Mhm.
Go
I
ahead.
still haven't read or watched that movie, and this is like the fourth time in 8 or 9 days that somebody said you need to watch that movie. So my buddy Dylan Crossland, if he's listening, because I've told him about this podcast, I'm going to watch it and I'm going to read it because he's the one that, man, you need to watch this because I know and you'd love it. So
Yeah, Dylan, you have his
So-
word now.
So, B-Rob, I would recommend to you, after hearing Kyle, I would watch the movie first. Just so you're not disappointed in it, because it is a fun movie, and I thought the movie was extremely well done. And when you see all the little Easter eggs in there from all the classic games and stuff that we know, it's fun. Like, I love going through rewatching that movie just to see who I can find that I didn't see before.
I'm not like a big like state pride kind of guy. I kind of am, I guess, in a little sense. It just bothered me from the source material from in the book. They started in Oklahoma. In the movie, not so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm waiting for the the Oklahoma
That's
Thor
what's
ties.
wrong with the book.
I know there's ties to Oklahoma in Thor lore. Damn it! And where's our?
They
Was
moved
it-
to
It's
Was
like
it
Southwest. It was
No,
Was it Lawton?
near
Oh, it's
Lawton.
Lawton.
it's a little town near Lawton, wasn't it?
Yeah, Asgard got relocated to Oklahoma.
New
Why didn't-
Asgard. New Asgard.
Right.
And we'll discuss that in Thor lore. Now back to B-Rob's original question. What was your original question?
We-
Who are the five when you think of the Avengers? Who are like the five that automatically come to your mind?
Okay, who would you pick?
Iron Man, Cap, Hawkeye, Thor, and Hank Pym. And I would throw in the Wasp because you can't really put in Ant-Man without the Wasp with those six. But for whatever reason, Hawkeye is always, anytime the Avengers are talked about, Clint Barton comes into it for me. Whether it was from that of the arcade game, because he used to always play the Nintendo in the arcade game, always Hawkeye or Vision. But Hawkeye is always one that comes to my mind when we talk about the Avengers.
See, and that's one of the, when we get to Avengers, that's going to be one of my things too, is Hawkeye. I don't think they did him justice in these movies. I think that because Hawkeye was always a pretty cool character because he always had all these trick arrows. He's kind of, he's Marvel's answer to the Green Arrow is what it was. He had all these different kind of arrows. And I don't think they did him justice in the Marvel universe. That's one thing that I don't think was done well. Because he was always an interesting character. But we'll get to that when we get to Avengers. Kyle, would you have any picks?
Just from what I can remember seeing on the covers of comics when I was a kid that I never got to get. I mean, Captain America sticks out. Iron Man sticks out. I remember seeing Ant-Man on a cover. But as far as getting a full 5, like my Avengers are the ones that I've seen on screen.
See, that's what I like about this discussion we're having right now. Is you got two guys who know the original source material from years and years ago, and then you have your point of view from the movie point of view. That's what you know, and then you know a little bit about the backstory, but you don't know what B-Rob and I know. Because I'm sure you had friends in high school, unlike some of us.
What I'm hoping that we end up doing, like not just this episode, but the whole thing of the show itself is like what's happening with just our Avengers talk with you guys knowing the source material. It's making me want to go out and like I need to, what do I need to find to read to, not get on your level, but to what do I need to find to read, and this has sparked that in me. And I think that's kind of the whole
Galactic War, Kree Skrull War, Avengers Disassembled.
Don't be sending me. I can't take any more homework right now. But
actually, Disassembled is one you're going to want to read because that ties into our Nerky.
Okay.
Well, one thing I'd recommend just as a quick deal is find one that like T's got an Avengers Encyclopedia, and it gives a really good rundown of the characters, just like one page, like what issue they came in, who their villains were, their powers, like just on every page. It's only a one.
Oh, that's cool.
Deal, so it's just kind of a cool.
So it's huge though.
Yeah, it's probably about that thick.
Jeez.
Because he's got one for DC and Star Wars, and that's just like we would read like he'd get to pick 3 characters every night that we would read about and learn about before we went to bed, and that's just something
that's a cool idea.
Kind of do sometimes. So
you're so lucky.
I'm
we
to
have
steal
to
that
read
idea
about unicorns and Pig the Pug and.
Oh, I have that Uni the Unicorn's big downstairs with that one. So
get Thelma the Unicorn. That one's actually really good because that's by the guy who wrote Pig the Pug, and Pig the Pug books are disgusting, but they're awesome. Because Pig's a jerk. So those of you with young kids, remember that Pig the Pug books. There's a bunch of them. They really are entertaining, and they're a quick read too.
So is there anything else about Iron Man 2 that we just loved we haven't talked about? The robot is always one of my favorite things. It's all the shenanigans and funny little comic relief that he brings in the workshop.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think. So Iron Man 2 was good, but it wasn't a standout for me. If you ask my top 10 Marvel MCU movies, I don't think I would put Iron Man 2 in there. I liked it, but it wasn't one of my favorites.
If I did, it would just be because it introduced Natasha.
Yeah, I think I would go with that. Kyle?
It sticks out there with me for a different reason. So I remember watching it with my grandpa, and he automatically pointed out, Mickey Rourke when he saw him, and he was excited to see him for some reason. I didn't know why, and I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. and he said something like, "Oh, I don't know what happened to him, but his face is different." So he was talking about his, reconstructive
Plastic
surgery that
surgery.
he had, and it was just a good movie or a good memory watching that with my grandpa. So that one that movie kind of sticks with me there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I would agree with you, B-Rob. In the end, we'll give a quick recap. If you didn't know, Iron Man beats Whiplash and Justin Hammer. That may be a shocker to some of you, but you know what? We're here to ruin it for you. So, let's talk Easter eggs.
Yeah, I saw some on your list here and some things that I don't remember catching. I remember catching some, but there's one I'm very interested in.
Yeah. Let's start with the Shield map. Shield has a map up of potentially interesting spots. The first one that was on there, they hinted at Norway being at some sort of hotspot for, I think they said magical energy. I can't remember exactly what it said on the board, but it was a hotspot, and they said Norway. Norway is relevant because
Thor.
So
is that I'm trying to remember back some of the original lore from, but in the Thor lore, which I'll never get tired of saying that, the
Thor lore,
the version of Odin and Thor like that we know in real life, not Marvel Universe, actually did kind of happen, but that was the they would actually come through there. Is that what it was, or am I thinking of something completely different?
What do you mean come through?
That they
how they got to Midgard?
Well, they had actually visited. The Asgardians had actually visited Earth in the past at some point, or am I crossing that up with something else?
No, I think you're right. That if I remember correctly, the source material from Marvel, that's how they're saying the legends came to be. If I remember right, anyone jump in anytime, tell me I'm wrong. But I believe that they visited in the past. That's how they became the gods that were worshipped and how they were remembered.
You worded that way better than I was trying to get it out. Yeah, that's.
I think that's what you. I think that's right. B-Rob,
I think so too. I think so too.
And Kyle, you want to go over this next one? Because I think this was one of the coolest ones.
Well, that's where you brought up Wakanda, and I don't remember catching that. So I wanted you to.
It's on the map, and this was 8 years before Black Panther came out. So this means that Marvel had all this shit mapped out this far back.
Oh, okay. I see. I'm looking at the map now.
You should see it on there.
Yeah, I can see. Okay, I see Norway, England. So we have Greenland. We have New York. Perhaps they've even conded there. Okay.
I'm gonna look too.
Yeah, and I think about that. Even if they were never gonna do anything with it, I mean, it's kind of like when they drop hints about other things. I mean, was it Civil War when they started naming off that list of names, and they said Stephen Strange's name, and then like in Endgame where they Okoye is talking about earthquakes. Do we really think they're ever going to do anything with Namor? So I think who knows, but I think they do that to tease us, as well as, hey, this is actually going to work. We found our Black Panther. We found a Chadwick Boseman.
Yep.
And so.
So you think that like they could just be hedging their bets ahead of time, like you're saying, we may not go this route, but we have it there in case we do decide to go this route. Like, oh, okay.
Well, it's that. I think it's just one more thing that gives a nerd a boner. When you Wakanda, or the Norway thing, and it's just one more thing that it's like, what if,
a knoner.
That leads into your nerkies. So,
and you'll take our knoner and our nerkies and like it.
I want to take a quick shower just for mentioning either one of those.
A running theme.
Let's actually go back, because when I was looking at the map, I just saw the cover to Iron Man 2, the movie poster, and we forgot what back to B-Rob's point, what we took away from it, what we remember from it. War Machine. We forgot to talk about War Machine. We actually see the War Machine armor in this one. He created the War Machine armor, and in the source material in the comics, Rhodey was not the first War Machine. Tony was the first War Machine. I remember this comic vividly because it was like I want to say it was part of Armor Wars, where Tony's his blueprints got out in the wild, basically, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry was creating a suit of armor, and this was Tony going and basically demolishing this armor and the plans. It was these 3 samurai that came in and just they were like techno samurai, and they demolished Tony in this comic. I'm talking the Iron Man armor could not stand up to it. This is why he went back to the lab and he created the War Machine armor to combat them specifically. And I remember that this is the 90s, mid 90s, probably, when it was, because I remember the cover was awesome because it was one of those, not holographic, but the ones that like when you moved it was the shiny and had like, like kind of rainbowy looking colors, foil cover. And that was always one of my favorite arcs of that. And so this is where Rhodey became War Machine. Anyone? No one? Bueller?
I don't remember.
You can see B-Rob thinking really hard about coming back.
Yeah, I know. which brings
deep.
us back to episode 1. When you get to be an older nerd, you forget shit.
Mm-hmm. So much shit. Let's see.
I've forgotten more than I know at this point. Actually, let me see if I can find that Iron War Machine cover. Yep, there it is. Okay, I'm going to share this real quick. And let me share this. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Because this, and it might not have been, I think the samurai were the far, I remember him fighting the samurai with War Machine. This might have been the guy who melted the armor. I don't remember, but yeah, I remember owning this issue. And it was 48 pages, so that was a big thing at the time.
That's cool.
So
you're saying
okay,
that was the first appearance of War Machine then?
Mm-hmm.
There, okay.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was this guy who melted the armor, and Tony had to create long distance fighting stuff that wasn't energy based or something like that. But it was the first appearance of War Machine. Okay, back to the Easter eggs. On the map, they actually referenced Atlantis on there. So Atlantis being the home of King Namor, the Submariner, or he in the Marvel comics he's basically the Marvel answer to Aquaman, because I believe Aquaman was first.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC steal from each other all the time. That's what they've always done. Like Thanos is, who is he? Darkseid.
Yeah.
The Sentinel is Superman.
Shazam and Captain Marvel.
That's right. I forgot about that one. I can't think of who the DC Iron Man version would be, though. I can't remember, but they steal from each other all the time. Flash and Quicksilver. That's a great example too. But I still think so. Based on this, we had 8 years before Wakanda, before Black Panther even happened, they had Wakanda on the map. If this is a roadmap to what they're thinking, I still think we may get Namor movie at some point, or an introduction, maybe in Phase 4, because he had Atlantis in the comics has a lot of mystic stuff because Atlantis was a magical city that was sunk. They had a lot of mages, according to the story, and he, according to Marvel, he's the first mutant. So I'm wondering if he is if he was a property of Fox. I don't know. I need to look that one up, but I'm wondering if that's why he hasn't been used up until then. I think Kyle's looking it up right now.
I'm looking right now.
I think he's one you could have used and you just didn't use the word mutant. I think that's one that was originally included. I just man, that's a difficult one. I just don't know how much interest you have. You'd really have a big name person.
Imperious Rex. I don't know. I kind of think that we may end up seeing him at some point.
This is from a few years ago, but this is from 2016 when it's talking about, Fox had X-Men and Deadpool, Sony had Spider-Man, and the more in Man-Thing floated out in film limbo at Universal and Lionsgate.
Okay.
Whatever reason there.
It's in there.
But there's that.
Another Easter egg. We see Cap's shield in there. This time it's not a prototype. It's actually the finished shield. But what's the catch in this one? We think he's holding it. We think he's going to use it. And, we think, oh, shit, we're going to see Captain America. And it ends up being...
Use it as the
the
level?
I know it's on B-Rob's tip of his tongue. I'm enjoying this one. Because you see it eating at B-Rob right now.
Yeah.
I know they have the cheat sheet, so I just want to see. I want to see.
Well,
he used it as the level for that laser he was using.
That's right. Yeah.
We thought we were going to see Cap, but yeah, it was literally a level.
Right.
Another one is we find out that the organization backing Whiplash is the 10 Rings organization, which is another hint to the Mandarin. We figure out how old Nick Fury is because we get some hints into it. The answer is old. Nick Fury is very, very old. He didn't have the super soldier serum. What did he have? He had the I can't remember what his serum was called, but it gives Nick Fury long life.
Well, and it got real tricky there just because he had so many, carbon duplicates or whatever they called them.
The the LMDs, life decoy model, or LDMs, life decoy models. This is also where we find out that it was this one I was talking about, not Vision Scarlet Witch. Iron Man 2 takes place at the exact same time period as Hulk, even though it's 2 years later than the Hulk. It's the same because the news report where they're fighting from Culver is the same place where the final battle between Hulk and Abomination was. That was a college, wasn't it? Culver College.
Culver College.
Yep. This is one that I thought was really interesting. There's on that shield map, there was a map of Antarctica. Or no, it wasn't on the map. It was in the Howard Stark crate, which could reference two different things. B-Rob, I know you know this one. What do you think it referenced?
Tesseract, or the location Tesseract could have been, or location of Steve Rogers.
Yep. And there's a third possibility too. Savage Land.
Yeah.
Savage Land is based in Antarctica. It's kind of like a land before time forgot. It's one of those dinosaurs are there. Khazar,
Sauron.
Sauron, who's a classic X-Men villain. So, are we going to get some Savage Land at some point? We might, if this is any indication. And then Justin Hammer does a trademark dance like the one that John did in Swingers. That's also in this movie.
Yeah.
And then what was the end Easter egg end credit scene for this movie? Do you guys remember? I know you know this because it's also the next movie.
Yeah, it's something in New Mexico, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Where Agent he's calling from
Coulson.
New Mexico. Coulson's calling from New Mexico because something weird's happening. I can't remember if it does the zoom in or the zoom out, but you see Mjolnir, you see Thor's hammer, like
Yeah, the
there.
Bifrost, right? And then there's the hammer.
Yep, and you see the Bifrost circle. Yep, that was the biggie in the end, and I remember seeing that going, Thor's next, Thor's next, Thor's next. So that was exciting because I've always liked Thor and all his incarnations. Thor's been one of my favorites. So I was
At
really
what point
excited.
did you start figuring out who the big bad was going to be in this first round?
I tell you this, it wasn't this movie.
Right.
God, when did I figure out who the big bad was? I gotta think about it. You or Kyle go, and I gotta think about this for a sec.
Are you talking about the end all big bad with Thanos or the first Avengers?
In phase one.
Oh.
Because the phases are all going to have one ultimate big baddie who was pulling strings for that particular set.
Wasn't Thanos alluded to in one of the scenes in phase one though? Like like the end of Captain America or the end of Avengers?
It's the end of the Avengers when you see him smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was alluded to like early.
That'll be our next episode.
I'm ahead of myself. Okay.
No, but you're right. We can talk about it. We can just get more into it. But I mean, what do you think, B-Rob? When did you figure it out?
I started thinking about it right after Thor. When I realized how good Tom Hiddleston was, and then just the fact that of how much time Loki had in the movie, and character development, everything. I kind of thought, hey, this might be great. This might be where they're going, because I mean, he was the one that really formed the Avengers anyway.
Yep.
He was who they were fighting or the common enemy. So that's probably why I started kind of thinking that way. I was never confirmed on that until later on, obviously. But
right. Kyle?
Yeah, I don't think I caught on to him going to be the big bad. I just, had a hunch that he's going to play a way bigger role than he did, initially. And I think that did kind of play out. Like I said, I was going in with, no reference of, well, who do I think, so all mine was coming from what I saw in the movies. And I knew he was going to be some kind of bad. I just didn't expect to see him being the big bad that quick.
Right. It's so just hit me when I figured out he was the big bad. Thanos was the big bad. It was at the end of the fucking Avengers because I had no clue.
Oh yeah, no,
I had that. I just remembered that threw me for a loop. I remember going up because at that point we didn't know the Tesseract was an Infinity Stone.
Right.
We thought the Tesseract was just some weird thing that opens, portals. To not different realities, but just different points in space. So I had no clue. Marvel did bravo. Marvel, you threw me for a loop. I had no clue. Right. I could not even guess that.
There was. I thought at some point they were obviously going to do it, but that was not where I thought that was going. I mean, honestly, I kind of had hoped, even after seeing Loki, and Thor, I was kind of hoping that Red Skull was going to end up and Hydra would be bigger. And obviously it was. It just wasn't with Red Skull at the helm.
Right.
So,
well, with that, listeners, is there anything else you guys want to go over on these first three movies? Okay. No. So
I think we kind of hit
the next three movies that,
so I think we kind of hit it pretty solid there.
The next three movies that we're going to hit is going to be to finish up phase one. is going to be Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and the Avengers. It's not going to be next week, though. It'll be 2 weeks because we're going to be doing, like I said, the Spelljammer one next. And then we'll be doing, because it takes me some time to write all this out, the notes that I want to hit. So I'm going to need literally 2 weeks because I have a feeling this is going to be another 2 episodes by itself for Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and the Avengers. Just because I think that there is so much more to talk about. This is when I think Marvel really started hitting their stride, was the start of Thor. Because, Thor, was a lot of the backstory. So was Captain America, the First Avenger. But there's just so much going on in these 3 movies. It might be a 2 to 3 parter.
Yeah. Bet each one of them is an episode.
I bet it is too. And that's why I need some time. I need a little bit of time because this pesky thing called work I have to do sometimes. That's how I can afford the internet to do this.
That damn work.
Damn work. But yeah, so our next 3 will be Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and Marvel's The Avengers. So with that, dear listeners, and if you're watching us, hi.
Hey.
Hey. Now is the time on the show we call Nerd Drum. 2 nerds enter, 1 nerd leaves.
And then a little bit later, another nerd leaves, but he's sad because he lost. So
this is okay.
Oh yeah, what we'll do, we're going to take some characters from pop culture, nerd culture. We have those in a randomizer, and we're going to each randomly get a character to do battle against the other character. We also have the locations and the activity randomized, so to set this a little bit apart from your typical, who would kick whose ass discussion. We threw some wrinkles in there, so we're going to be going to this totally blind, and at the end, we'll both make our case on to
all 3 of us,
or all 3 of us, yep, on why we think our randomly chosen character won, and then you guys will have the chance to vote on that in our Discord channel, which will have links to that in the descriptions of the video and the audio, so you can join there, join in the discussion, be a part of the community, and vote on who you think is the winner.
Now, I did have someone asked me, a really good buddy of mine asked me a good question this week because they were confused on how this works, because we explain it, but I don't think we explain how the tallying works.
Okay.
We let you all decide on, like Kyle was saying, on who won based off of the way we describe it and why we think they should win. Mm-hmm. I eventually, if this really takes off, I'd like to get into, there's someone in the Discord channel that was saying that they'd love to animate us for this. So it'd be cool if they could animate Nerd Drum. And then you could see how it went down play by play. But for now, we just throw it out there and you guys vote. Kyle throws it out in the Discord channel. It'll be up from basically Monday through Saturday, and then he closes it off on Sunday. No, Monday through Sunday, and then he'll close it off the following Monday and start the new one. Mm-hmm. That way we get a full week to vote. You all are wrong for the first one for having Zoidberg win against Hank.
That was the best choice.
You guys are wrong. If you voted for Zoidberg, you're wrong.
No, that was
make the correct choice.
So, you people did great. Those are my people. I'm so proud.
What do you mean, you people?
What? Those are my people. The ones that voted for Zoidberg. You people would be the smart ones. You make great choices.
Oh, okay. You mean you people? Another classic Robert Downey Jr. character. Okay, with that, let's go. Guest gets first spin. So with that, Dr. Zoidberg. B-Rob got Dr. Zoidberg. Me or you, Kyle?
Let's go me.
Okay, you next.
I usually say you, and it never works that well in my favor.
Stan Smith from American Dad.
I'll work with Stan Smith.
My first.
God, I hope you get Meg.
Batman. Chris gets Batman. Again, listeners, this doesn't mean shit. This is all about what they're doing and location. So B-Rob got Zoidberg. Kyle got Stan Smith. I got the Batman. This is Bruce Wayne Batman we're talking about too. Our location. Raccoon City.
Ooh,
Raccoon City from the Resident Evil series. I was about to say trilogy, but hell no, it's not a trilogy.
there's so
Raccoon City, the evil Umbrella Corporation has created the T virus?
Mhm.
That basically turned people into zombies and animals and everything else. Those damn dogs.
don't even start on those
They
damn
still
dogs.
scare me. So we're in a zombie infested hellhole.
Mhm.
Doing we're doing pancake flipping.
So we have Dr. Zoidberg versus Stan Smith
Stan Smith.
versus Batman
Batman.
in Raccoon City flipping pancakes. I shot myself in the foot with this because I gave Zoidberg a really good reason on why he was great at cooking a few weeks ago. And now
Yep.
I got Stan Smith, who doesn't even like being in the kitchen. Okay, we can work with this.
Okay. B-Rob, do you need a minute?
I'm good.
Okay. Guest goes first.
All right. So the first thing Dr. Zoidberg would do would be to get Stan Smith talking about himself, since we all know he likes to do that. And as he was going on his tirade about how awesome America is, how he voted for Trump, bitching about Haley being stoned, Batman would be listening intently, and Zoidberg would be flipping his pancake, trying not to eat them, obviously, as he positioned himself away from the window. And as he is trying to be act as oblivious as possible, and continues to goad Stan into continuing to talk about himself, which is just pissing Batman off. And Batman is letting his emotions get the better of him. Zombie breaks in through the window, grabs Stan and Batman. They're done. Zoidberg wins.
Good one. Kyle?
So I think for Stan to be able to pull this off, one, I mean, he has government CIA training. He's seen some weird shit. I think the environment of Raccoon City not only will be able to perform the duties of the challenge, he's going to be able to fight off any of the zombies, the dogs, the weird creatures that would be coming about because of the location. So I don't think that the location is going to phase him. He'll be able to do his duties and defend himself. What Stan will do, because he is a trained CIA agent, he knows interrogation and witness questioning techniques. He'll get Zoidberg talking about his past. He'll question him on being a doctor, and it'll eventually lead to the point of asking Zoidberg if his parents are proud of him, which Zoidberg will end up breaking down in sadness because you remember he there was the episode where it seemed like he just really disappointed his parents when they were all kind of exiled. So he's going to break down Zoidberg into the fetal position, crying, thinking about being the biggest letdown of his parents, and will not even be able to try to flip a pancake. Batman's watching this closely while this is going on. He'll notice that one opponent is down, crying. Stan will then turn to Batman and say, well, at least Zoidberg still has his parents. And then he'll be able to go on and finish flipping pancakes. Batman will not be able to continue from that point on. He'll play that
Batman. Play that. Batman won't be anywhere near where these two yahoos are flipping pancakes. He'll have some tracking devices. He'll have some cameras in there. He will be so far removed from this, it's not even funny in Raccoon City. Batman is a survivor. We've seen that in No Man's Land. We've seen that during Blackest Night. During Blackest Night, all the Black Lanterns reanimated all the corpses. Batman evaded almost all of them. I said almost all of them. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. Batman's smart. He's the world's greatest detective. He has resources. Even if he doesn't have resources, he makes his own resources. Where Batman's going to be at a disadvantage, which neither of these two said, is that I am fairly confident Bruce doesn't know how to flip a pancake. Being as rich as he is, he has Alfred do it for him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter here because Batman is so smart. He's going to lead all these zombie dogs and zombies into where they're flipping the pancakes, having this little competition of theirs while he's sitting back. You know, he is the knight, you know, the Kevin Conroy voice. That was the worst impression ever. But that's what he's going to say. He's going to say, he's going to lead them to them. He's going to make the zombies eat Stan Smith and Dr. Zoidberg. Like, they won't even need claw crackers for Zoidberg. Zoidberg will be scuttling around going, woo, 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 woo. Cut. He's gone. Stan Smith is going to do the Rob Lowe, Chad Lowe, Sweep Lowe. Doesn't matter. Once all these zombies hit, he's gone. Batman's so smart, he's going to have them eat all of them, therefore being the survivor.
So what we've decided on is none of our characters have the ability to flip a damn pancake. So it's turned into a battle royale. And it's just, how can we eliminate the other two and win by default? That's where this nerderdom wins.
Because literally all three, good point, all three of these guys cannot flip a damn pancake.
No.
So it turned into exactly what we didn't want it to do. Well, no. It's not just a fist fight. It's a battle of how they're eliminating the other person.
You live long enough as so.
live long and flip flapjacks.
We've come what we've despised. So.
I hate myself.
Oh.
Well, with that's up to you all to tell us who the winner is.
Vote. So we'll have the link for the Discord in the description for the video and for the audio, so you guys join that. When you do join, there is a little quick thing that you'll need to read and react to, stating that you read the rules. Just hit the reaction, and then you'll be able to interact with the rest of the Discord. So, join us. Become one of us.
One of us. One of us. One of us. Classic line. B-Rob, what are you watching or reading this week?
I will be watching Ready Player One.
Excellent. Let's clap for him.
Great. He is sticking to it. What was it, Dylan? It was
Yep.
Yeah, it's on record
Dylan,
now.
we love you, Dylan. I hope you're listening to this. We love you.
Mm-hmm.
We love all of you. Thank you for listening. Except for you, Vinny. We don't like you.
Vinny.
Vinny. And actually, Ready Player One, you could watch that with Tinker.
Yeah, I think you could.
I think you could, especially if you're getting him into all this stuff. He's going to recognize some characters on there. Like you see Sonic walking around at one point.
He loves Sonic.
So, I mean, it's not very long, but I'll be interested to hear what you have to think about it afterward and who you see, because there's some of my favorite characters in there. Kyle, what you reading or watching this week?
Okay, so this week I rewatched Kung Fury because my brother had not seen that. I don't know if you've.
Is that the like the throwback, like like in almost like an 80s one?
It's kind of like a 80s appreciation.
It's the internet
type.
one.
Yeah, it was on YouTube for a while, and so we watched that. Actually, me and my brother watched that together last night. So if you haven't watched that, it's not a full length movie. It's probably like 30-40 minutes. Well worth it.
But it's awesome.
It's cheesy as hell. It's so good. I got a copy of the House of M series thanks to you, Chris. Let me know that was on Amazon Prime. Busted out an old tablet I had that I wasn't using for anything, and I'm going to make that my reader, so I have that to read now. And I've started rewatching the X-Men animated series from, was it like early mid 90s?
90s.
No.
Mhm.
Yep,
Nice.
in there, and because
Which
I
is-
never did catch all those. That was one of those shows that I loved watching when I could catch it as a kid, but didn't get to watch it a lot. So now it's out on Disney Plus. So I'm plowing through that one.
That's a great.
Well, it's just a great series. Like when you think of X-Men, like I don't think of Spider-Man and his amazing friends, like because Iceman was in that.
Right.
I think of like literally that series.
Yeah.
Even over like Wolverine and the X-Men, which I love that one too. Or
Agreed.
what was the one where they were all in high school? I love that one too. It's on Disney Plus. X-Men of Evolution,
Ocean. Yeah.
which we'll go over Evolution because I thought Evolution was one of the best depictions of the X-Men's early years out there, even though it's not anywhere near source material.
Right.
It's just fun. It's just a lot of fun. So cool. You've been busy. You've been really busy.
I'm trying to be.
House of M is free on, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free on the Kindle as a checkout.
Mhm.
If you don't understand why we are interested in House of M right now, go listen to our Nerky. And you will find out. I'm not going to tell you why, because I want you to listen to the Nerky. So, because we have 11 listens to the new one, so I want to get to at least 12. Please listen to the Nerky. But there's that. What I'm watching this week, we started season 3 of American Gods started, and I love the first 2 seasons. And it's taken a different twist again, but it is such a good show. Like I'm really enjoying it. Like episode 4 came out actually about an hour ago, Sunday night, and we're just about to start episode 3. But it's, you know, when you got young kids, it's hard to find the time for those hour shows because by the time you get done with stuff like this, like it's going to be 9:45, 10. It's an hour-long show. It's just hard as you get older. Go back to episode 1, but that was my big one for this week. It was great. And then we started watching another show, but I'm going to save that for next time. So yeah, it's American Gods season 3, which is so far it's been really, really good. B-Rob, something you learned this week.
Something I learned.
Doesn't have to be profound. It can be anything.
Right. That to spend a little more time listening. As I spent a little more time in the field this week than I had in a while, I was reminded of what it takes to the things that happen in the field. You know, there's something that, you know, on construction projects, you know, I don't have just one problem in my role. I have a million problems. So sometimes it's really easy to forget about the guys that are in the field that just have that one problem to focus on, that one project. So just remembering to listen a little bit more. Something that I was reminded of.
Oh, that was deep. That was a really good one. No, really, that was a really good one. Kyle, how are you gonna fail following up on this one?
I'm not going to be able to follow that, but something I learned this week is never underestimate the power of nerds on the internet and large numbers with disposable income.
Amen.
Because
Amen.
I'm just hanging on to that GameStop and AMC stock right now, seeing what will happen.
Why don't you go over that just real quick since we're at the end of the show, just so people know what you're talking about, so they can look it up.
By the time we get this out, either it'll have shot to the moon or it'll have totally crashed. But the short of it is, if you guys have been following the news, anything at all, the GameStop controversy thing's been going on. A bunch of guys on Reddit, on a subreddit called Wall Street Bets, have basically banded together and stuck it to a hedge fund that was going short on GameStop. Basically, they were betting on GameStop totally failing, which was probably a really good bet at the time. But the hedge fund manager was pretty cocky about it, had made some public statements about it, really pissed off a bunch of people. So to counter that, the only way the hedge fund was going to make any money is if, GameStop stock, it's so freaking hard to say. GameStop stock had went ahead and bottomed out. by all these guys banding together and just buying and buying and buying and buying shares of GameStop. It sort of artificially inflated the price to about 1,000 to 1,400% gain of what it was. So about a week and a half ago, GameStop stock was $25, $35 a share. I think it closed on Friday. It was like $320 a share. So it really screwed over the hedge fund guys. They've lost about $20 billion. There's been lawsuits coming out of it. I think we're only about a third of the way through seeing all the drama that's going to come out of it. But it really showed that, you piss off the wrong people, they get behind a cause, they'll rally. And so it's really interesting to unfold. There's a lot more that'll go into it that would take me about another 20 minutes to explain. But yeah, power to the players. So
again, don't underestimate little people. Like B-Rob was saying, listen, and don't piss off the wrong people, especially on the internet.
Yeah.
Because those internet nerds, our people, they'll stick it to you. They'll really stick it to you, as this is showing us. Something I learned this week. There is a lot of sharp stuff in the attic. Running these cables, hardwiring from the living room to the office. There's a lot of damn nails in that attic, and insulation's itchy, and wearing shorts was not a good idea. Doing a 45-minute bike ride on the Peloton before going up and down the ladder, carrying the cable, going for everything that we needed. That was not smart. Yeah, the attic sucks.
But the end goal, you have great connection now, right?
The end goal is amazing, but I'm sore all over right now, and I think I may have found some insulation in my butt crack last night. I don't know how it got there. I'm hoping it was either that or it was cotton candy. Don't ask that one either.
I don't want to ask how you figured out it was one or the other either. So.
You know what? You know what? Ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies.
I don't even want to ask.
The words of the
This is almost as bad as the
Tricker.
nerdy knoner conversation.
No.
I got a knoner.
Hey, I might have given some of you a knoner. We don't know.
We don't know. You'll never
highly
know,
doubt
so.
it. Yeah, highly doubt it, but there you go. So the next episode that we are going to do is Spelljammer. Join us the next week for Spelljammer.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2 weeks, we will come back because I want to get through phase 3. At least, so we may have to do a couple of movies in the phases and then go to something else so people don't get bored of listening. And I'm sure we need some time to recover after talking about a whole phase too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do Spelljammer and then we will start on phase 2 of Marvel after that. And we'll have B-Rob, if you would, we'd love to have you back for that.
I'd love to come back if you can't find anybody better than me.
We can't. Don't worry.
No, we really can't.
Yeah, no, we really can't. We've asked.
We peaked.
There's no one.
Like my Christmas sweaters, I have plenty of Funko T-shirts. So
see, and we are looking forward to seeing them, sir.
Well, what shirt you got on? What do you get there, Chris? Is it?
I got. It's one
Funko?
my wife made. Nope, it's Stitch. It's a Halloween Disney Stitch one my wife made for us.
Huh.
Since we were all in for Halloween and Halloween kind of socially distanced Halloween, she made us all fun shirts
Nice.
for the whole family. So
that's cool.
yeah. So with that, I'm Chris.
I'm Kyle.
You guys have a good one.
Have a great one. Thanks for listening.
It could get elevated. Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated.